problem that's basically hardwired into every single one of us. Have you ever had one of those days? You know, where 99 things go right, but that one little thing goes wrong and that's all you can think about? It's like our brains are just Velcro for the bad stuff and Teflon for the good. Well, guess what? If you feel that way, you're not alone. And it's completely normal. That's right. This is not some flaw in your personality. This tendency to focus on the negative, it's actually an ancient survival tool. It was designed to keep our ancestors on high alert for dangers, like, a tiger in the bushes. Super useful back then, but in our modern world, that same system can actually trap us. So yeah, this survival instinct that was once our greatest shield can become this sort of invisible prison. It makes us almost blind to all the good things happening around us every single day. We're so busy scanning for what might go wrong that we just completely miss what's going right. Okay, here's a really great way to think about it. Imagine your mind is a garden. Now, for years, most of us, without even realizing it, have just been watering the weeds. All the worries, the fears, the anxieties. We've given them all our attention, and so of course, they've grown totally out of control. Every single thought is like a seed, right? A negative thought, well, that grows into a thorny, painful bush. But a grateful thought, that grows into a beautiful tree that actually bears fruit. So the real question is, which seeds are you watering every day? But here's the amazing part. You are not stuck with this programming. Not at all. You can absolutely change this default setting. There is a switch you can flip to shift your entire focus away from the negative and towards the positive. And believe me, it's not magic. It's pure science. And that switch is gratitude. And we're not just talking about some fluffy, feel-good emotion here. We are talking about a scientifically proven tool that can literally, physically rewire the pathways in your brain. See, when you practice gratitude, you're doing so much more than just thinking happy thoughts. You're actually creating real physical changes inside your head. It unleashes powerful chemicals, it actually alters your brain structure over time, and it actively fights back against that old, outdated negativity bias. So what is actually happening in there? Well, gratitude calms down your amygdala. That's your brain's little alarm system, the fear and anxiety center. At the exact same time, it strengthens your prefrontal cortex. That's the part responsible for logical thinking and emotional control. And the best part? It floods your system with dopamine and serotonin, the brain's own feel-good chemicals. We're talking happiness, pleasure, and motivation. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Every single time you feel grateful, you are literally giving your own brain a hit of natural, organic happiness. It's like you're becoming your own doctor, prescribing yourself joy. All right, so we get the why. It's powerful, it's scientific, but how? How do you actually start doing it? How do you start planting those flowers and stop watering those darned weeds? Well, it is so much simpler than you might think. Here are 3 super simple but seriously powerful ways to start. First, a gratitude journal. Every night, just write down 3 little things you're grateful for. Could be anything, a good cup of coffee, a funny text from a friend. Second, a gratitude walk. Don't just stomp around on your phone, really notice things. See the sky, feel the air. And third, just say thank you, out loud. Don't just think it, say it to someone. It's amazing how that multiplies the positive vibe for everyone. And here's the secret sauce. You gotta be consistent. Studies show that if you do something consistently for just 21 days, you can start to carve out a new neural pathway, a new habit. I mean, think about that. In just 3 weeks, you can start to totally shift the way you think by default. So what happens when this actually becomes a habit? What does it feel like? Well, honestly, it feels like your entire world has changed, even though on the outside, nothing might have changed at all. The whole shift happens inside you. Now, it's super important to remember that this isn't a one and done thing. It's not some destination you get to and then you're happy forever. No, it's a journey. It's a practice that leads to this continuous, amazing, positive shift in literally everything. Your mood, your relationships, your whole outlook on life. This might be my favorite way to think about it. Gratitude is the lens you choose to see the world through. And when you put on those gratitude glasses, everything just seems clearer, lighter, and way more beautiful. And on a deeper level, what you put out is what you get back. When you're constantly sending out that positive energy of gratitude, you start attracting more and more things to be grateful for. The universe kind of starts matching the good vibes you're giving off. So I want to leave you with this. Let's make this real. Right now, this second, what's one thing you are truly grateful for? Come on, just let one simple thing pop into your head. Got something? A person, a feeling, maybe just the fact that you're breathing. Whatever it was, you just planted another flower in your garden. See? It's that easy. Now all you have to do is keep watering it. Thank you so much for listening.
You know, your mind is probably the most powerful tool you will ever have. But what if I told you there's a silent partner, really, running the show in the background? One that holds the key to unlocking your absolute full potential. Today, we're going to dive into how you can connect with it. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been driving a route you know really well, maybe your commute home, and you pull into the driveway and realize you have almost zero memory of the actual trip? Your conscious mind was off somewhere else, thinking about dinner or a meeting. So who was driving the car? In this explainer, we're going to break it all down. First, we'll reveal the two minds that are running your life. Then we'll get into that autopilot we were just talking about. From there, it gets really practical. We'll cover how to unlock something called the alpha state, how that helps you shift from just reacting to life to actually creating it, and finally, a super simple 5-step practice you can start using today. Okay, so to understand who was driving that car, we first need to get one thing straight. Our brain operates with two totally distinct systems, and they're working at the same time. You've got the conscious and the subconscious. Think of it like a division of labor, right? Your conscious mind is what you're using this very second to listen and think about what I'm saying. It questions things, it uses logic. But the subconscious, well, that's the silent powerhouse in the background. It doesn't question anything, it just does. It's running your habits, managing your emotions, and holding on to all your core beliefs based on its programming. So what this means is that while your conscious mind is all caught up in the here and now, your subconscious is that powerful autopilot, just silently guiding your life in the background. And the scope of its control is, well, it's staggering. We're not just talking about your habits, like biting your nails, or your emotional triggers. No, it's running the most critical systems in your body. Your heartbeat, your immune system, your breathing, all without you ever having to think about it for a single second. It is always on, every moment, awake or asleep. And this brings us right back to that car ride. Your subconscious was in autopilot mode, perfectly following its preset program for drive home. And this illustrates a really crucial point. The subconscious doesn't make mistakes. It can't. It just flawlessly executes whatever instructions it's been given. So if this system is so powerful, the big question has to be, how do we communicate with it, right? How can we give it new instructions? Well, the answer lies in something called the alpha state. The bridge to your subconscious, that direct line, is a specific mental frequency called the alpha state. Now, this isn't anything mystical or weird. It's simply a state where your analytical mind quiets down, your body gets really relaxed, and your awareness just naturally shifts from the outside world to your inner world. And getting there is actually way simpler than you might think. It really just begins with a clear, simple intention. The act of just stating to yourself, I am connecting with my subconscious mind, is what starts to open that line of communication. Now, once you start building this connection, the changes aren't just, theoretical. They start showing up in very real, very tangible ways in your day-to-day life. So how do you know it's working? Well, you'll start to notice you're less prone to anger. Those little things that used to bother you, they just don't anymore. New ideas and solutions seem to pop into your head effortlessly. Your creativity starts to flow, and you just begin to feel this genuine sense of inner peace. This is the fundamental shift. You actually move from what we could call reaction mode, where your life is basically dictated by external events and stress, over to creation mode. And in this state, you're driven by an internal vision. You don't just react anymore. You observe, you align, and you create from a place of calm, centered detachment. This is where that powerful, calm energy you see in some people really comes from. Okay, so now let's turn all this theory into actual practice. Here's a clear, actionable routine that you can start using immediately to build this incredible connection. Here it is, 5 simple steps. First, just practice observing the world without immediately reacting to every little thing. Second, focus on your breathing. Keep it slow and rhythmic. Third, find a few minutes every single day to just sit in total silence. Fourth, consciously scan your body and just release any tension you're holding on to. And finally, number 5, repeat your intention. And this right here, this is the command. This is the phrase you repeat. My subconscious mind is awake, aware, and connected. You're not just saying words here. You're issuing a new instruction. a whole new program for that powerful autopilot to start running. This is the ultimate goal. The takeaway here is, well, it's profound. When you stop being run by old automatic programming and you start consciously connecting with your inner world, you shift from being a passenger to being the pilot. You actually become the creator of your own life. And that leaves us with one final, very powerful question. As you start this practice, your inner world is going to start to change, and your outer reality will inevitably transform right along with it. So, what reality will you choose to create? What if I told you that you, yes, you, have a hidden power? A power that no matter where you are in life right now can totally change everything for you. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on exactly what that power is. So let me just ask you this straight up. Are your thoughts creating your life? Is it possible? Just think about it for a second, that the world you see around you is actually a mirror of what's going on inside your head? So, what is this hidden power we're talking about? It's a principle, a law, really called the law of attraction, and just getting your head around it is the very first step to using it. Okay, so what is the law of attraction? In a nutshell, it's this. Whatever you focus on, you're going to get more of. The energy you put out into the world is the exact same energy you're going to get back. It's really that simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. A really great way to picture this is to think of your mind as a giant, powerful magnet. Seriously. It doesn't really judge what's good or bad. It just attracts whatever matches your most common thoughts. The people, the experiences, the whole shebang. Right, so you might be sitting there thinking, okay, cool concept, but how does that actually work? What's the science here? Well, the theory behind it is surprisingly straightforward. See, the big idea is that your thoughts aren't just these quiet little things that stay locked up in your head. Nope. Every single thought you have creates a real energy, a kind of vibration that you're constantly sending out into the universe. Every feeling is basically you broadcasting a signal. And here's the kicker. The universe, or whatever you want to call it, picks up on those signals. And it doesn't really care if they're positive or negative. It just hears your frequency and essentially says, okay, your wish is my command. And this is where you end up on two totally different roads. I mean, look at this. If you're always thinking, I'm so unlucky, or I'm just gonna fail, well, the universe kind of nods and sends more problems your way to prove you right. But if you can flip that script to, you know what, I am capable and success is on its way, then you start attracting opportunities. Same person, different thoughts, completely different. Let's make this real for a second. Let me tell you about this student. He was, pretty average, not a whole lot of confidence. Probably like a lot of us, right? But this student did something that changed everything. Every single day, without fail, he'd close his eyes and just vividly imagine one thing. He saw himself up on a stage, speaking with total confidence, and he could hear the audience clapping for him. He really felt it. And after a few months, something wild started to happen. The way he carried himself, the way he talked, it all started to change. His confidence just soared. And before he knew it, his reality outside caught up to what he was seeing on the inside. He actually became that amazing speaker he imagined. So why on earth did that work? Well, it's because of a cool quirk of our brains. Our subconscious mind, it can't really tell the difference between something you vividly imagine and something that's actually happening. So by feeding it that image of success over and over, he literally rewired his own beliefs about himself. Okay, so you get the idea, you've seen how it can work. Now for the really important part. How do you turn this thing on in your own life? It really just comes down to a simple 3-step plan. First up, you gotta ask. And you have to be super clear. Don't be vague. The universe can't deliver a muddled order. Second, you have to believe. And this one is the real game changer. You have to start acting, feeling, and thinking like you already have what you want. And that belief makes you do the things that get you there. And finally, number 3, receive. You gotta open yourself up to it. And the best way to do that is with gratitude, feeling thankful for it, like it's already here. Now, a really powerful way to nail that believe step is to use affirmations. They're just simple, positive sentences that help cement your new reality in your mind. Let's look at a few. Just repeating simple things like this every day can totally shift your mindset. Saying I am deserving fights off those nasty feelings of not being good enough. Telling yourself what I want is coming to me builds this amazing feeling of hope and faith. And the universe is with me, that can replace a whole lot of fear with a real sense of support. So when you boil it all down, here's the magic formula. It's not enough to just think a thought. You have to combine a clear thought with a strong, positive feeling. That combination, thoughts plus emotions, that's the engine that creates your reality. All right, as we start to wrap this up, there's one last huge idea I want to leave with you that kind of ties this all together. This quote, this says it all, doesn't it? You become what you think, you attract what you feel. This isn't just some fluffy, wishful thinking. It's about how your mind works. The person you're gonna be tomorrow, next month, next year, is literally being built by the thoughts you're choosing to think right now. Which brings us right to the end, and to the most important question of all. And this one isn't for me, it's for you. Knowing what you know now, that your mind is a magnet, and your thoughts are the architects of your future. Starting right now, what will you choose to think?
You ever just get a vibe from someone? You know, that invisible energy that tells you something about them before they even say a word. Well, today, we're gonna pull back the curtain on what that really is. It's a personal energy field that you have too. And learning how to manage it, that can change everything. I want you to think about the people you know. Seriously. Why is it that hanging out with one friend leaves you feeling totally recharged and happy, while being around someone else can make you feel completely exhausted like you need a nap? It's not just in your head, I promise you. There is a very real, invisible energy at play, and we're gonna break down exactly how it works. I mean, look at the difference. It's like night and day, right? On one side, you got that drained feeling, your energy's in the basement, you feel kind of heavy, and your mind is just foggy. But on the other side, you're recharged, your mood is lifted, you feel good about yourself, and your thoughts are super clear. This isn't just a simple mood swing, it's the actual result of an energy exchange. So, what is this invisible force that's having such a big impact on how we feel, day in and day out? Well, it all comes down to something called the human aura. To put it simply, the aura is an invisible energy field that surrounds your body. But, and this is the important part, it's not just some random force. It's actually created by you. Your thoughts, your feelings, your deepest beliefs, they all generate this field. You can think of it like your own personal energy signature, a unique frequency that you're broadcasting out into the world 24/7. And get this, we're not talking about a tiny little bubble that's just an inch off your skin. Scientific studies suggest this energy field can extend outwards in an 8-meter circle around us on average. Think about what that means. Your energy is literally entering a room before you do, and you're constantly, and I mean constantly, interacting with the energy fields of other people, whether you realize it or not. Okay, so we've all got an aura, but, and this is a big but, its strength can be wildly different from person to person, and that strength has a huge impact on our lives. So let's really break down the difference between having a strong aura and a weak one. You can just see the difference right there. A weak aura, which is often fed by things like negative thoughts and stress, can kind of trap you in this downward spiral of fear and confusion. But a strong aura, that creates a powerful positive feedback loop. It helps you feel confident and clear, which gives you more self-respect, which in turn makes your aura even stronger. It builds on itself. And this right here, this explains that feeling we talked about. If your aura is in a weakened state and you come across someone with a really powerful, strong energy, you can literally feel your own energy getting drained. That's that exhaustion you feel after a difficult conversation or meeting. It's a real energy transfer. Okay, so this brings us to the most important question of all, right? How can we strengthen our own aura? Well, the good news is you absolutely have the power to do it. You're not just stuck. So let's look at the practical steps you can take. It really boils down to these 3 core ideas. First, and this is a big one, control your thoughts. That voice inside your head is directly feeding your energy field for better or worse. Second, you've got to strengthen your beliefs about yourself. How you see yourself is the very foundation of your aura. And third, maintain your distance. Be really mindful about who and what you give your energy to. It's a precious resource, so protect. All right, so we've talked about the principles. Now let's get into a really powerful practical exercise you can start doing every single day to actively build and shield your aura. Okay, let's just walk through this. Go ahead and find a comfortable spot, either sitting or lying down, and just gently close your eyes. Now first, I want you to visualize a brilliant, powerful source of light just above your head. See it sending waves of pure energy down all around you, like a waterfall. Good. Now bring your focus down to your chest, to your heart. Imagine that light expanding from your core, forming a protective shield all around you. And finally, feel a deep, solid energy source down in your stomach, radiating strength and power through your whole body. You know, the key with this is just consistency. It might feel a little weird at first, and that's totally okay. But if you just practice this for 3 to 5 minutes every day, you will start to feel a real, tangible shift inside you. It's a subtle power that really builds from the inside out. So what's the end result of doing this consistently? What's the big payoff? Well, you start to unlock your true inner power, and you begin to reclaim control over your own personal energy. And the benefits of having that strong aura, they're really transformative. As your energy field gets stronger, you'll notice your confidence just naturally starts to grow. Your mind feels sharper, clearer, you'll become so much more resilient. Negative energy from other people just won't affect you in the same way. And ultimately, your whole personality just becomes more naturally and effortlessly powerful. And really, this is the main takeaway. Your aura is your power. When you learn to control your energy, you really do gain so much more control over your entire life. It all starts from within. So my question for you is, what's the first step you're going to take to strengthen your energy today? Today on The Explainer, we're diving into something truly powerful, a system for transformation, but we're going to see it through one man's incredible story of hitting absolute rock bottom. And this is where it all begins, a moment of just profound shame. You know, the kind of moment that's so painful, it forces you to look at your entire life and ask, what am I doing? So yeah, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle that very question by following a man named David. And his journey, well, it's going to completely reshape not just his body, but his entire identity. It's an amazing story. So let's meet David. He's 40 years old, and when our story begins, he's at his absolute lowest point. I mean, he was a loving father, a great husband, but he was trapped inside a body that was just failing him. To put it in perspective, he weighed 140 kilograms. That's over 300 pounds. But it wasn't just about the weight, you know? His health reports were a mess, just a collection of red flags. We're talking sky-high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, the works. And the day-to-day stuff, it was becoming impossible. He was too breathless to walk with his wife. He had zero energy to play with his kids. Even tying his own shoelaces was a struggle. But the real gut punch, the thing that truly haunted him, was knowing he was failing his family. His 7-year-old daughter, she just stopped asking him to play. Think about that. She just accepted that her dad could, and then, the breaking point. The moment that changed absolutely everything. He was just trying to get a ball for his 9-year-old son when he stumbled and fell. And he didn't trip, you know. It was just weakness. He couldn't get back up on his own. The humiliation of his son seeing him like that, helpless on the ground, that was it. That was the catalyst. That night, he knew something had to change, for real this time. So, completely desperate, David reached out for help. A friend referred him to this, well, a very unique kind of doctor. This guy didn't write prescriptions for pills or hand out extreme diets. Nope. He prescribed philosophies. And this first question from the doctor, it just hit David like a ton of bricks. It made him realize he'd spent decades creating this version of himself, but he expected to fix it all in a few months. So the doctor's first challenge? It was almost shockingly simple. For the next 2 weeks, he said, just drink 1 glass of water every single morning. That's it. Change nothing else. Now, what's so clever about this is that the doctor's goal wasn't weight loss. Not yet, anyway. It was just about getting David to keep a single, simple promise to himself. And this brings us to the very first philosophy, Kaizen. The whole idea here is that massive change doesn't happen with these giant, heroic leaps. It comes from tiny, consistent 1% improvements, day after day. And that 1 glass of water, it became what we call a keystone habit. It was the one small domino that starts a chain reaction. It was the small win David desperately needed to prove to himself, hey, maybe I can do this. This was the foundation for everything else. Okay, so building on that tiny bit of success, the doctor gave David his next challenge. Eat half portions of your meals. Simple enough, right? But there was a twist. He had to wait 20 minutes before he could even think about going for seconds. And this introduced him to the second philosophy, Hara Hachi Bu. The logic behind this is so simple, but it's also kind of profound. See, it takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to send the, hey, I'm full signal to your brain. By just pausing, David gave his body a chance to catch up. He wasn't using willpower. He was just listening to his body. And with just that one tiny change, he lost his first 3 kilos. The journey was officially on. So, David was starting to make real progress. But the next challenge wasn't about what he was eating. It was about getting him to move again. One tiny step at a time. The doctor didn't tell him, all right, go hit the gym for an hour every day. Nope, he just said, walk to your mailbox and back. It sounds almost laughably small, doesn't it? But David did it. And then something really special happened. His little girl, seeing her dad actually moving again, asked if she could join him. And those tiny walks to the mailbox, they turned into these cherished moments of connection for them. Then, during one of their check-ins, the doctor asked him a really important question. He said, David, why are you really doing this? And that question led him to discover the third, and maybe the most crucial philosophy of all, ikigai. It's a Japanese concept that basically means your reason for being. And this is so important, because David realized his goal wasn't just about losing weight. That wasn't the real why. His ikigai, his deep, driving purpose, was to be an energetic, present father and husband. To be able to play with his kids, to go on walks with his wife, to one day meet his grandchildren. That became a source of fuel that's way more powerful than just motivation. But you know how it goes. The path to real change is never, ever a straight line. And sure enough, David hit a major roadblock. It happened at a family wedding, and it threatened to derail his entire journey. So he's at this wedding, surrounded by amazing food and, social pressure. And he caved. He broke his new habits, he overate, and the next day he just felt crushed by guilt. He actually called his doctor in a total panic, saying, I've ruined everything, I'm a complete failure. He was right there on the verge of giving up. But the doctor didn't get angry or scold him. Instead, he introduced David to the fourth philosophy, wabi-sabi. He explained that life isn't perfect. Progress isn't perfect. One bad day, one mistake, it doesn't just erase months and months of hard work. Wabi-sabi is all about accepting imperfection and even finding beauty in things that are a little flawed, a little incomplete, like the journey itself. And this really gets to the heart of why so many of us give up on our goals. The real enemy isn't making a mistake. It's perfectionism. It's that all or nothing thinking that tells you if you mess up once, you might as well quit. But the real goal, the only thing that matters, is consistency. It's about having the guts to just show up again tomorrow, especially after you stumble. Which leads us right into the final and most powerful philosophy, gambaru. This is the spirit of just toughing it out. It means to persevere, to do your absolute best, and to never, ever give up, especially when things get hard. It's that commitment to just get back to your core habits, that glass of water, that walk to the mailbox, no matter how many times you fall down. So now, armed with this totally new mindset that it's okay to be imperfect, that it's part of the process, David's transformation really started to pick up steam. He wasn't just changing on the outside anymore, he was changing from the inside out. And I mean the results, they really speak for themselves. In a year and a half, he lost 52 kilograms. That's over 114 pounds. But honestly, the more important change was in how he saw himself. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't see a failure anymore. He saw a warrior, someone who had fought for his life and for his family. And get this, when he went for a routine checkup, his old doctor was just stunned, speechless. The high cholesterol, the type 2 diabetes, all of it reversed, gone. The doctor asked him, what on earth did you do? What magic pill did you take? And David just smiled and said, no pill, just a glass of water every morning. So let's just do a quick recap of this incredible 5-step system. First, you've got Kaizen. Start with those tiny 1% improvements. Then, Harahachibu. Practice moderation. Don't overdo it. Third, Ikigai. You have to find your deep reason why. Fourth is Wabi-sabi. Embrace the fact that you're not perfect. And finally, Gambaru. Just keep going, no matter what. So what's the big takeaway from David's story? It's this. Real, lasting change doesn't start with some giant, perfect leap of faith. It starts with one small glass of water, one short walk to the mailbox. So I'll leave you with this question. What is the one small, imperfect step you can take today that your future self is going to thank you for? Thanks for watching.
All right, let's dive into something truly wild. We're going to talk about the most complex thing in the entire known universe, and it's right inside your head. Yep, the human brain. We're about to uncover some facts about its power and memory that might just change how you think about, well, thinking itself. So, let me ask you this. You're using your brain right now, obviously, but have you ever stopped to really think about how powerful it is? I mean, what is it actually capable of? Well, we're about to put that power into some serious perspective. Okay, get ready for this number. Every single second, your brain is processing around 11 million pieces of information. That's not a typo, 11 million. And we're not just talking about the words you're hearing from me. It's, the feeling of the chair you're sitting in, the temperature of the air on your skin. It's this constant, massive flood of data. But here's where it gets really interesting. Out of all that, all those 11 million inputs, you're only consciously aware of a tiny, tiny fraction. So what's handling the rest? Your subconscious. It's just quietly running the show in the background. It's a huge reminder that so much of what we do isn't about active thinking. It's about what we feel and perceive without even trying. You know that feeling, right? When your phone or your laptop hits you with that dreaded storage full notification? Ugh, it's the worst. Well, guess what? Your brain just doesn't have that problem. Its capacity for memories, for knowledge, for everything you've ever experienced is, for all intents and purposes, unlimited. It doesn't fill up. It just keeps making new connections. So let's dig a little deeper into this hidden power. You can think of your brain like a supercomputer, but one that's so advanced it still has scientists scratching their heads. Here's a cool way to frame it. A computer hard drive, it stores files, right? Your brain, it stores life. It literally weaves together facts, feelings, smells, sounds, all of it into this incredible tapestry of memory that just never, ever runs out of space. It's an absolute marvel. Okay, but a huge amount of this power is operating completely under the surface. So now let's talk about the subconscious mind, the silent partner that's actually running the whole show. Check this out. It's estimated that a whopping 90% of your life is driven by your subconscious. I'm talking about your habits, your gut reactions, your deepest beliefs, all of it. That little 10% that we're actually aware of, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And that has a really profound implication, right? Because if our subconscious is built from our repeated thoughts and experiences, it means that old saying is literally true. The things you think about over and over again, those are the thoughts that are building the very foundation of who you are. Have you ever wondered why you can remember every detail of a birthday party from 10 years ago, but you have no idea what you ate for lunch last Tuesday? Well, the answer is emotion. Emotion is like an anchor for our memories. It just locks them into place. And the stronger the feeling, whether it's good or bad, the stronger that memory is going to be. Okay, so we've seen how powerful it is. Now let's kind of pop the hood and see how this thing actually works. How does this amazing organ pull off these incredible feats? We think of sleep as just resting, but for your brain, it's work time. It's not passive at all. When you get into that deep sleep, your brain kicks into this super important repair and organization mode. It's like a night shift worker, sorting through all the information from your day, deciding what to keep, and filing it away into your long-term memory. That's exactly why a good night's sleep is one of the best things you can do for your memory, period. All right, let's switch gears and talk about energy. Right now, just sitting there, your brain is generating about 20 watts of power. So what's 20 watts? Well, it's enough to power a dim light bulb. Just think about that for a second. The organ that created symphonies, that sent us to the moon, that's responsible for every single thought you've ever had, runs on the same juice as a tiny lamp. That is some serious efficiency. Now, here's a really weird paradox for you. The brain itself has no pain receptors. It can't feel pain. Neurosurgeons can operate on a patient's brain while they're awake. Yet, it's the master control center that processes all the pain signals coming from the rest of your body. So the organ itself feels nothing, but it never ever forgets the memory of pain. Okay, so knowing all this cool stuff is one thing, but actually using it is something else entirely. So for this last part, let's get practical. Let's look at a way you can start to unlock some of that amazing memory potential yourself. All right, here's a really cool tested memory hack. It's called context memory. The idea behind it is super simple. Our brains are amazing at linking memories to our senses. A certain song, a specific smell. We can totally use this to our advantage by creating a sensory trigger on purpose when we're trying to learn something. Here's how it works. Let's say you're studying for a big exam. Try chewing a really unique flavor of gum, or maybe put a little bit of a specific essential oil on your wrist. Then, when you go to take the test, chew that same gum or smell that same scent. That sensory cue can act like a key, helping you unlock all the information you filed away. And get this, your brain isn't some static thing. It's constantly changing, constantly rebuilding itself. Over about 7 to 10 years, a lot of your brain cells are actually replaced with brand new ones. But here's the amazing part. Your memories, your personality, everything that makes you you gets transferred to those new cells. So even though you're physically changing, you are still you. How cool is that? You know, maybe the best way to think about it is this. Your brain isn't just an organ. It's more like a living galaxy with millions and millions of signals firing every single second. It's an entire universe of thought and potential, and it's all right there, inside your head. And maybe the most exciting part of all is that we're just beginning to map this incredible universe. Research keeps showing us that with the right kind of training, for focus, for memory, for learning, we can tap into so much more of this amazing power we all have. So I'll leave you with this one last really important question. Now that you know about the vast untapped potential sitting right inside your own head, what are you gonna do to train your brain?
Ever get that feeling, that gut feeling, that you're being played, but you just can't put your finger on how? Well, there are these hidden psychological forces all around us, influencing our daily lives, and a lot of the time, we don't even see them. So, in this explainer, we're gonna pull back that curtain. We're unmasking the secrets of what's called dark psychology. I know, it's a pretty intense question, right? But it's a really important one. Because sometimes the people we're closest to, they're using these super subtle tactics, not to lift us up, but to control us. And that's what this is all about. We're gonna give you the tools you need to spot it when it's happening. Okay, so let's get one thing straight right away. The goal here is absolutely not to teach you how to manipulate people. No way. It's the exact opposite. This is all about awareness. Because the more you understand these sneaky tactics, the more power you have over your own life, your own mind. It's all about empowerment, and that comes from knowledge. And that brings us right to the heart of it. We're gonna break down seven of the most common manipulation tactics that you're likely to run into. And trust me, once you see these patterns, you really can't unsee them. So let's dive in with one that's surprisingly powerful. You know when someone just goes radio silent on you? No fight, no shouting, just complete silence? Yeah, that's not always someone taking the high road. A lot of the time, it's a carefully planned psychological weapon. It's designed to completely throw you off your game. See, when someone does that on purpose, when they just cut off all communication, your brain goes into this frantic overdrive, right? It's trying to solve this mystery. You immediately start blaming yourself. What did I do wrong? You question everything you did, and you might even start lowering your own standards just to get any kind of reply. They're not saying a single word, but their silence is controlling the entire situation. It's wild. All right, next up, who doesn't love a good compliment, right? But here's the thing, not all praise is what it seems. Sometimes a compliment isn't a compliment at all. It's a trap, and it's designed to isolate you and make you totally dependent on that person. Think about it. When someone says that only you understand me, it feels good, doesn't it? It makes you feel special, like you have this unbreakable bond. But the hidden message there, it's that everyone else is clueless, and it's just you two against the world. It slowly backs you into an emotional corner until they become your entire world. And once that happens, controlling you is just easy. Okay, tactic number 3. Guilt. This is a big one. It's one of the heaviest, most effective emotional buttons anyone can push. If someone figures out how to make you feel guilty, it's like they found a remote control for your feelings and for your actions. So here's the deal. Phrases like this are basically a form of emotional programming. They're built to make you believe that having your own boundaries means you're selfish or you don't really love them. And when you're stuck in that moment of guilt, you're so much more likely to say yes when every part of you is screaming no. Let's be real, that's not love. It's a straight up power play. All right, you gotta be careful with people who try to get super deep, super fast. Manipulators know that information is power. The more they know about you, your deepest fears, your insecurities, all your secrets, the more ammo they have to use against you later. And they collect all this personal stuff pretending it's just about building a really special connection. And this is so important to remember. You might feel like you're building this incredible trust by opening up and being vulnerable, but to a manipulator, that trust is just a weapon they're putting in their back pocket for later. So you've got to protect yourself. Take your time, let people earn your trust. Don't just hand it over. Now this next one, it's a classic, and it's really damaging. It's called triangulation. This is when a manipulator drags a third person into the mix. It could be an ex, a friend, even a coworker. And the whole point is to make you feel insecure and like you're in some kind of competition. You see, the goal here isn't to have a real conversation or solve a problem. It's just to make you feel insecure, to make you feel like you're not good enough. It forces you into this position where you feel like you constantly have to prove yourself, and you end up just exhausting yourself playing a game you were never meant to win. It's all about one thing: breaking down your confidence. I bet you know someone like this, the kind of person where nothing is ever their fault. They are always the victim in every single story they tell. They're the innocent one who's just been so wronged by the world. And that, my friends, is the trap of the victim card. By always playing the martyr, they make you feel like you're responsible for their happiness. You actually become scared to speak up about your own needs, or even think about leaving because you're terrified of causing them even more pain. It's an incredibly powerful way for them to dodge all responsibility and keep you hooked through pity. Okay, let's talk about the modern world. Because dark psychology has found a massive, powerful new playground, and that's social media. I mean, those perfectly curated, flawless lives you see scrolling through your feed, a lot of that is intentionally designed to make you feel insecure, to make you compare your real life to their highlight reel. And that is the comparison trap in full effect. Your focus just shifts. Instead of working on your own growth, you're stuck envying someone else's perfectly edited life. It's literally designed to make you feel like you're not enough, and it just creates this vicious cycle of insecurity. The number one thing to remember is that social media is filtered reality. It's not real life. Okay, so we've laid out the tactics, and I know that can feel pretty heavy. But now we get to the empowering part. Let's switch gears from the problem to the solution. Here's a simple 3-step strategy you can use to defend yourself. First up, build your self-awareness. Seriously, when you know your own value, it's a whole lot harder for someone else to convince you you're worthless. You gotta set clear boundaries. Number 2, observe the patterns. Look, anyone can make a mistake once, but if you see the same manipulative stuff happening again and again, that's not a mistake, my friend. That is a strategy. And finally, number 3, learn to say no. No is a complete sentence. You don't need to explain it. Protecting your own mind and your own peace is so much more important than pleasing someone who doesn't even respect you in the first place. And that really is the biggest takeaway from all of this. These tactics only work in the dark. They thrive on confusion and self-doubt. The moment you shine a light on them, the moment you understand how they work, you completely strip away their power. Your knowledge, that's your greatest shield. So, now that you're armed with all this awareness, I want you to take a fresh look at the interactions in your own life. This isn't about being paranoid, not at all. It's about being perceptive. It's about being smart. So now that you know the tactics, who are you going to see differently?
Have you ever stopped to wonder what really makes a relationship tick? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on some powerful psychological truths about love and connection that might just change the way you see everything. Let's dive in. Have you ever been on that relationship roller coaster? You know, one moment you're on top of the world, and the next, this wave of anxiety just hits you, and you have no idea why. You felt it, for sure. But have you ever truly understood the psychology behind it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We are going to explore 7 psychological insights that will not only bring clarity to those confusing feelings, but also give you the tools to strengthen your bonds and navigate misunderstandings with confidence. First up, let's talk about the heart's deep and often subconscious connection. This is all about those powerful emotional ties we form without even realizing their full impact on us. So let's kick things off with our very first fact, the mood changer. Just think about it. One single text from the person you care about can completely flip your day. A message with a slightly different tone or a reply that comes a little too late can make your heart race. Why? Because your brain literally puts them at the top of its priority list, making your emotional response almost instant. It's this fascinating dance between love and anxiety. And that leads us to the ignore paradox. It's a strange but totally true psychological quirk. The more you try to ignore someone, the more they dominate your thoughts. It's actually known as ironic process theory. In the very act of trying to suppress the thought, your brain has to keep checking if you're still thinking about them, which of course keeps them front and center in your mind. Wild, right? Now those powerful emotional connections we just talked about, they are either nourished or starved by one crucial thing: communication. let's explore how what we say and what we don't say can either build a rock-solid bond or break it. You've heard the old saying, but psychology absolutely backs it up. Couples who laugh together stay together. Laughing together releases endorphins and oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which melts away stress and deepens your emotional connection. It's not just about having fun, it's about building a foundation of trust and shared joy. But on the flip side of that, we have what can only be called the relationship killer, the silent treatment. This is one of the most dangerous things you can do in a relationship. When the conversation stops, the mind doesn't. It starts to fill in the blanks with assumptions, and those assumptions almost always breed misunderstanding and negativity, quietly eroding the connection from the inside out. And this brings us to the most critical lesson of this section. Communication is the bridge that keeps love alive. It's the only way to fight that negative cycle of assumptions. So, whether the topic is huge or tiny, the key is to discuss everything. Keep that bridge strong. And that leads us perfectly into our final section, the true value of effort. This is where we redefine love not as some passive feeling that just happens to you, but as an active, conscious choice and effort. It's a common misconception that a great relationship requires a perfect partner, but psychology tells a very different story. As you can see here, a strong bond is built by two people who have the emotional intelligence to be quick to apologize and quick to forgive. It's about choosing connection over ego and prioritizing understanding over being right. Now, let's redefine what it means to give someone your time. When someone consistently carves out space for you in their busy life, it's not just about the minutes or hours. It is a powerful statement of priority. It's an action that often says so much more than the words, "I love you." It's the purest, most active form of love there is. And finally, it all comes down to our last fact. Real love isn't about finding a perfect partner. Nobody's perfect. It's about putting in perfect effort. And that effort stands on three pillars. Having the right intention, which helps you solve problems. Having the patience to understand each other. And most importantly, teamwork. Seeing the relationship as us against the problem, instead of me against you. So, after unpacking these powerful psychological facts, it's time to reflect. What does all of this mean for you? What's your biggest truth? So, what are the big takeaways from our journey today? First, recognize the power of your emotional connection and how it shapes your every interaction. Second, make communication your superpower. Embrace laughter and never let silence create a rift. And finally, remember that love is a verb. It's all about the consistent, conscious effort you choose to make every single day. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Of the 7 hidden truths we discussed today, which one touched your heart the most? Which one felt closest to your own experiences? Take a moment to think on that. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. All right, let's dive right in. We all go through our days interacting with people, right? But what if I told you there's a secret set of rules, kind of like a psychological software, running in the background of every single conversation, every first impression, every choice you make? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on those invisible forces that are secretly shaping our behavior. Seriously, think about it. You could be having an amazing day, people are saying great things, you're feeling on top of the world, and then one tiny negative comment just tanks your whole mood. Why does that one sting feel so much more powerful than all the good stuff? It feels totally unfair, I know, but it's a universal human thing, and there is a very, very specific reason why it happens. To get to the bottom of that, we have to start by looking inward. Our journey begins inside the most complicated and incredible thing in the known universe, your brain. We're about to explore the secret emotional wiring that pretty much dictates how we react to everything. Now, here's the thing you have to understand. Your brain isn't like a perfect, logical video camera. Nope. It doesn't give equal weight to everything it sees and hears. Instead, it plays favorites. It puts a big, bright flag on any experience that's tied to a strong emotion. Joy, fear, anger, love. And it stores those memories in crystal clear high definition. That's why you can forget what you ate yesterday, but you can remember a single, super emotional moment from like a decade ago. So back to that question about insults and compliments. Here it is. This is the magic number that explains it all. Our brains are hardwired to absorb and process negative stuff with three times the intensity of positive stuff. It's a survival instinct called the negativity bias. Basically, our ancient ancestors had to be way more focused on the tiger in the bushes than the pretty sunset. And well, that wiring is still with us. This chart just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? A compliment gives you a nice little boost, but an insult, man, it lands with this heavy, disproportionate thud. Psychologically speaking, you actually need at least 3 genuine positive experiences to balance out the emotional weight of just one negative one. So next time that happens, remember, it's not you being overly sensitive, it's just how our brains are built. And this emotional wiring can lead to some really surprising behaviors. Take laughter, for instance. We always think of it as pure joy, right? But get this. For some highly sensitive people, laughing a lot can actually be a defense mechanism, a way to put up a shield against all that negativity we're talking about. It's a powerful reminder that what you see on the surface is almost never the whole story. Okay, so we've got this internal programming that's hypersensitive to bad news and strong feelings. But how does that actually affect us in the real world, with other people? That's what we're jumping into next. Let's start cracking the unwritten rules of social interaction, the social code. 3 seconds. That's it. That is the entire window of opportunity you have to make a first impression. It's wild, I know. Before you've even finished saying hello, the other person's brain has already sized you up and made a judgment. It's shockingly fast, and it happens completely under the radar, totally unconsciously. So what on earth is happening in those 3 seconds? It's not just random. Your brain is on a high-speed mission to answer 3 critical questions. Number 1, can I trust this person? Number 2, are they confident or are they a mess? And number 3, are they a potential friend or a foe? Your posture, your tone, your smile, it's all instant data for this lightning-fast calculation. Now here's one of the most fascinating rules of human connection. We are naturally, almost magnetically drawn to people who are like us. And I don't just mean you both like the same movies. I'm talking about the little things, the way they talk, their hand gestures, their energy. When someone subtly mirrors our behavior, our brain sees it as a sign of safety and rapport. It's like a secret handshake that says, hey, this person gets me. Just take a second and think about your closest friends, or maybe your favorite coworkers. Have you noticed that you've picked up some of their catchphrases, or that they've started using some of your gestures? That is not a coincidence. That is the mirroring effect in action. It's the invisible glue holding our social bonds together. But you want to know the single most powerful tool for connection? The real superpower? It's this. In a world where everyone is just waiting for their turn to talk, being a sincere listener is a total game changer. One of the deepest human cravings we have is to feel understood. When you give someone your complete, undivided attention, you're giving them a gift and satisfying a core psychological need. That kind of genuine connection, it's all built on trust. But what happens when that trust is broken? Well, on the flip side, you've got lying. When someone tells a lie, their brain has to work overtime. It has to invent the lie, remember the lie, and actively suppress the truth, all at the same time. That extra mental work often leaks out in their body language, fidgeting, darting eyes, a fake smile. Their behavior just feels a little off, because neurologically, it is off. So much of our social behavior, when you really get down to it, is powered by 2 primal engines, what we want and what we're afraid of. So let's decode these powerful drivers. Here is a fundamental rule of psychology you see everywhere. We are absolutely wired to want what we can't have. It's true. The second something becomes rare or forbidden or just hard to get, its value in our minds just skyrockets. And this isn't just about romance. It applies to career goals, designer sneakers, you name it. Scarcity is a massive trigger for desire. Okay, so now let's talk about the other side of that coin, fear. Why do we get that knot in our stomach when we start a new job or visit a new city or have to meet a whole new group of people? What is our brain so freaked out about? The answer is surprisingly simple. It's the unknown. See, your brain's main job is to be a prediction machine. It's constantly trying to figure out what's going to happen next. When it can't, when things are uncertain, it hits the panic button. This fear of the unknown is an ancient instinct designed to keep us safe by making us super cautious in situations we don't understand yet. So we've uncovered some of these secret rules that run our minds and our social lives. But here's the best part. This isn't just a bunch of interesting trivia. This is actionable intelligence. Let's turn these insights into a practical toolkit that you can literally start using today. Let's put it all together. To fight back against that negativity bias, make it a habit. For every one negative thought or comment, actively find and focus on 3 positives. To master that all-important 3-second impression, just be mindful of your vibe. Walk in with open posture and a warm tone. And finally, to build that instant rapport, use the mirroring effect by truly listening for common ground. It's about creating a real connection, not just having a conversation. So there you have it. You now have a peek behind the code of human behavior. You understand the hidden wiring that drives you and everyone around you. The question isn't, what are the rules anymore? The real question is, now that you have this awareness, how are you going to use it? Today, we're going to dive into some really fascinating psychological insights about women. Now, this isn't about stereotypes at all. It's about understanding different ways of thinking and feeling so we can all build deeper, more meaningful connections. Let's jump right in. So let me ask you a question, straight up. How well do you really know what's going on in a woman's mind? I mean, beyond what you see on the surface. We're about to pull back the curtain on what psychology has to say about it. First up, let's explore that internal world. You know, the way thoughts are processed, those unique patterns, and of course that famous intuition. Okay, so you've probably heard of a 6th sense, right? Well, you can think of it like a highly active emotional radar. It's not magic, it's all about picking up on tiny, almost invisible clues. A shift in body language, a slight change in tone to get a real sense of what's true. And this brings us to another huge piece of that inner world, analysis. A simple situation is rarely just a simple situation. It's often looked at from a whole bunch of different angles. This visual really says it all, doesn't it? Something that seems like a tiny single issue can be turned over and examined from like 10 different perspectives. What does it mean right now? What could it mean for the future? How does it affect everyone involved? It's just a much deeper, more complex way of looking at things. So if the mind is analyzing everything from all those angles, it only makes sense that the emotions tied to those things are just as deep, right? Let's dive into that. And a key difference that comes up is how long those emotional experiences stick around. Now, this isn't about one way being better than the other. Not at all. It's just a different way of processing. For women, those feelings, both the good and the bad, can often be felt more deeply and resonate for a lot longer. And this emotional depth is completely connected to memory. If an event has a strong emotional impact, the smallest details can be locked in with crystal clarity for years. We're talking the exact words used, the way the tone shifted, the entire vibe of the room. It's why what you say in those big moments really, really matter. But here's the good news. Because of this emotional sensitivity, the opposite is also true. It doesn't always take some huge, grand gesture to make an impact. Sometimes just one single thing is enough. Think about it. A single, heartfelt compliment. It might seem like such a small thing to the person giving it, but to the person receiving it, it can be so deeply felt that it literally brightens up their entire day. It just goes to show you how powerful our small, kind actions can be. Okay, so this leads us perfectly into our next section. How do all these internal thoughts and deep emotions actually show up in the real world? Specifically, in the way we connect with each other in relationships. You know that old saying, actions speak louder than words? Well, it's especially true here. Saying I care or I love you is wonderful, of course. But what often carries the most weight are the consistent actions behind those words. It's the effort, the listening, the being there that truly shows you care. There's this common idea that women are open books, sharing everything, but actually it's often the complete opposite. Those deepest, most vulnerable feelings, they're kept under lock and key, reserved only for the very few people who have truly, over time, earned that trust. And because that trust is such a huge deal, when it feels broken, it can be unbelievably painful. When someone you've let in, someone you trust completely, suddenly acts cold or ignores you, it hurts so much more because of that vulnerability you shared. So when it comes down to it, what really builds that lasting connection? What's really attractive? More often than not, it's not about looks. It's about these 3 things: respectful behavior, a real effort to understand, and open, honest communication. That's the stuff that builds real attraction. All right, for our final section, let's talk about the foundation that all of this is built on: strength, and the incredibly important need for security. One of the most incredible strengths you see is the ability to multitask. Seriously, juggling a career, a home, and all the complex emotions that go with it all at the same time. It's amazing. Some research even points to how women's brains might be wired to handle multiple things at once a bit differently. And then there's this powerful protective instinct. Even when they're going through their own pain or their own struggles, so many women have this deep natural drive to protect the people they love from getting hurt. It's a quiet kind of strength, but it's absolutely immense. And finally, security. This is so important to understand. And it's not just about money in the bank. True security is about feeling emotionally safe. It's about mental peace. It's that deep down calm you feel when you know you have someone's loyalty. When those things are in place, that's when a woman can really thrive. So, what's the bottom line here? If we could boil it all down, it's this. First, try to understand what's going on beneath the surface. Second, let your actions show your respect, not just your words. And third, remember how crucial it is to create a space of emotional and mental security. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Knowing all this, what's one small change you could make, maybe even starting today, that could bring a really positive shift to the relationships in your own life? Something to think about. Thanks for listening.
Have you ever stopped to wonder what's really going on inside your body when you're, let's say, not being 100% truthful? Well, it turns out honesty isn't just some moral high ground. It might actually be a biological need. So let's dive into the pretty surprising science that connects telling the truth to our own physical and mental peace. Okay, so we've all seen it in the movies, right? The intense lie detector scene. But how does a hunk of metal and wires actually know you're lying? Is it some kind of mind-reading magic? The answer is way simpler and honestly a lot more interesting. It has everything to do with our own built-in survival kit. Alright, so the first thing to get straight is that a polygraph, a lie detector, doesn't detect lies. Not really. It can't read your thoughts, thank goodness. What it's actually doing is acting like a super sensitive monitor, just tracking and recording all these little physical reactions happening inside your body that you have no control over. And this is where it gets really fascinating. It's measuring things like your heart rate, how fast you're breathing, your blood pressure, and even if you're starting to sweat. Now, think about it. Those are the exact same signs your body shows when you're facing a real physical danger. A pounding heart, quick breaths, sweaty palms. You can't control this stuff. So that leads to a pretty big question, right? Why on earth would telling a little white lie trigger the same reaction as, I don't know, coming face to face with a bear in the woods? It's because your body is hardwired with this incredibly powerful, ancient alarm system that's designed to protect you from any and all threats. And that whole system? It's run by something called the autonomic nervous system. Just think of it as the automatic control panel for your body's emergency response team. It works in the background, you don't even have to think about it. And it has two settings that are complete opposites. So, on one hand, you've got the sympathetic nervous system. This is your alarm on switch. It's the gas pedal. It floods your body with everything it needs to either fight the danger or run away from it fast. And then on the other hand, you have the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the alarm off switch. It's the brake. Its whole job is to calm everything down once the coast is clear. So when that alarm on switch gets flipped, it's not just a feeling, you know? It kicks off a very real chemical reaction inside you. And that reaction is all about hormones. Now the research points to two key players here, testosterone and cortisol. You can think of these as your body's emergency fuel. They just pour into your system to make you sharp, focused, and ready for some kind of intense action. So you can really see how this whole chain reaction works. It all starts with a single lie. Your brain, which knows the truth, flags this mismatch as a threat. That immediately flips the alarm on switch, which then unleashes those stress hormones, and boom, you get the very physical changes that a polygraph machine is built to pick up on. Okay, so this is the absolute key, right here. Your ancient primal nervous system. It's not very sophisticated. It literally cannot tell the difference between a real live tiger about to pounce and the stress you create by telling a lie. To your body, a threat is a threat, period. And this is the real aha moment, especially for us living today. Every single time you present a version of yourself that isn't quite true, whether it's a heavily filtered photo or just a tiny exaggeration on your profile, you're basically telling your body, hey, we're in danger. You are creating that same threat situation inside yourself. And I mean, just think about how often we do this. From building that perfect life online, to beefing up our skills on a resume, or even just pretending everything's fine when it's not. We are constantly putting our own bodies into a state of fight or flight against lies that we ourselves created. Now, a little bit here and there might seem harmless, but what happens when that alarm system is sort of always on, humming in the background? What's the real long-term cost of living in this constant low-level state of threat? Well, the consequences, as it turns out, hit you both mentally and physically. So let's start with your head. Constantly having to fight to keep up a lie, to maintain a false reality, that puts an incredible amount of strain on you. You're always on edge, right? Always a little worried you're gonna get caught. And what the research shows is that this constant stress state is directly linked to things like anxiety, depression, and even just being irritable and moody all the time. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If your body is always geared up for a fight, your mind is going to be too. And that mental stress, nope, it absolutely does not just stay in your head. Those stress hormones, cortisol and testosterone, when they're always floating around in your system at high levels, they start to do some real damage to your physical body. And the effects are things you can actually feel. We're talking about serious long-term health problems. Everything from high blood pressure and heart trouble to constant fatigue, headaches, and even weird weight gain. Yeah, the physical price you pay for faking it, it's no joke. But here is the really good news in all of this. If being dishonest is what's causing all this biological stress, then the solution is actually wonderfully simple. It's not about being some perfect saint, it's just about choosing to be real, choosing authenticity. And really, this is the main thing to remember. Choosing to be honest is an act of self-care. It's medicinal. It is literally you telling your own body that there is no threat, that it's safe, and that it can stand down. When you line up what you do with what's actually true, you finally give that alarm off switch, your parasympathetic nervous system, a chance to do its job. You let your body rest, recover, and repair itself. You bring yourself back to a natural state of calm, of biological peace. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. Just take a look at your life, your daily chats, your social media, even the conversations you have with yourself. Where's one place you could be a little more honest? Where can you intentionally flip that alarm switch to off, and in doing so, give yourself the incredible gift of peace? Have you ever just wanted to walk into a room and feel more present, more confident? Well, today we're breaking down a really fascinating guide that talks about doing exactly that by activating your own inner energy field, your aura. So let's get right into the 4 steps for building that powerful personal presence from the inside out. You know, every big change starts with a decision. And according to this guide, it all kicks off with this single, powerful intention. This is way more than just saying some words out loud. It's about setting the stage, right? Making a real, conscious choice to leave the noise behind and be fully present for what's next. And the cool thing about this guide is how simple it is. It takes this huge, kind of abstract idea of spiritual power and breaks it down into 4 totally doable steps. So let's walk through it together, starting with the first and maybe most important phase, getting prepared. So before you jump into any of the energy work, the source says you've got to get your body in the right state to be open and connected. And trust me, it's way simpler than it sounds. Okay, so the physical setup is super straightforward. You can sit, you can lie down, whatever works for you. The guide really focuses on 2 things: keeping your spine straight, which is supposed to help the energy flow, and just breathing calmly to quiet all that mental chatter. And then you close your eyes. That's the final piece. It's like flipping a switch to turn your focus inward, getting you ready for the real work to start. All right, now this is where things get really interesting. The whole process doesn't start with your body or even your heart. It starts right in your mind. The guide calls this step 1, activating your head center. Let's see what that actually looks like. The very first thing you do is all in your head, literally. You're guided to find a point of focus, like a little soft spot of energy, right in the dead center of your head. This isn't about physical force or anything. It's just about learning to aim your awareness at one single tiny spot. So once you've locked onto that spot, the visualization kicks in. You're told to imagine a soft, warm light that starts to create this gentle heat. Then, that light starts sending out little waves, moving from the center of your head outwards. And the effect is supposed to be pretty profound. With each wave, your thoughts get calmer and your mind gets clearer. And this quote from the source, it just nails the feeling, right? It's not some big explosion of energy. It's this continuous, gentle pulse. And that repetition is everything. It's designed to literally wash over your thoughts, clearing out the clutter. Okay, so after you've found that clarity in your mind, the whole process starts to build on itself by moving down. The focus now shifts from your head to the center of your emotions, to what the guide calls the heart center. So now, your new focal point is the center of your chest. And according to the source, this isn't just a random spot. It's like a deep well of your emotional energy and spiritual power. This is where feelings like confidence and your personal presence really come from. Now, the technique here is pretty similar to the head center. You're still visualizing a soft glow and warmth, but here's the twist. The energy waves coming from your heart are imagined as expanding way further, like out beyond your body and into the room around you. This is all about boosting your external presence and really growing that core feeling of confidence and peace. And I love how the language here is so direct and empowering. It's not telling you to just, notice a feeling. It's an instruction to own it. The idea is to accept that this emotional energy is yours and then consciously choose to expand it. From the heart, we move down one more time to the third and final activation point. This step is all about lighting up what the source calls your power center, which is described as the absolute source of your personal strength and stability. So this core location, just below your navel, is where your personal strength, your authority, and your sense of control live. Think about it. The head brings you clarity, the heart brings you confidence, and the core? Well, the guide says this is the foundation of your raw power. And you can really feel the intensity ramp up here, can't you? The waves from the core aren't soft anymore. They're strong and warm, with a heat you can actually feel. The visualization is of these powerful circles of energy, just building one on top of the other. This is designed to be the most potent of the three centers, the one that reinforces your entire being. And this table just lays it all out so perfectly. You can see the whole progression right here. It starts with those soft waves in the head for clarity and calm, then moves to the warm glow in the heart for confidence, and it all culminates in those strong, hot waves from your core for real strength and control. It's a beautiful buildup. Okay, so you've lit up these three individual centers. Now for the really crucial final step, bringing it all together. This is the moment where those three separate points of light are guided to become one single, unified field of energy. And this is what the source really means when it talks about an aura. It's not some vague, mystical cloud. It's something specific. The combined energy of your mental clarity, your emotional confidence, and your core strength, all working together to create this field of influence and protection around you. This final visualization is what brings it all home. The guide has you imagine seeing yourself from above, watching all three of those centers glowing in perfect sync. The waves from each one now expand together in one powerful rhythm. And then, and this is so important, you visualize those waves coming back to you, creating this awesome feedback loop that just reinforces your energy and makes you even stronger. So, after all that work, what's the payoff? According to the source, it's not just some internal feeling. It's about creating a real, tangible shift in your personal energy that not only you, but also the people around you can actually feel. The guide lists the benefits just like this. Your unified energy creates a glowing aura and a rising vibe. But in real life, what does that feel like? It means feeling more confident, more influential every single day, all built on this rock-solid foundation of being both calm and strong at the same time. And the source wraps up with this really powerful claim. The ultimate transformation isn't just about feeling good, it's about becoming magnetic. It's this idea that when you activate and unify your inner power, you start to naturally draw positive people and experiences right to you. And that brings our little breakdown to a close. The guide doesn't just end on a statement, it leaves you with a challenge, and I'm gonna leave it with you too. Now that you have a kind of map to activate your own clarity, your own confidence, and your own strength, the only question left is, what are you going to do with it?
देखिए क्या है आयशा हुआ नहीं चले गई लेकिन मैं बात करना थी जरूरी होती है ना बात करते भी नहीं लिया वेट कुंदन वेट चल नहीं लिया मैं भी इतनी करके बात तो की ये दिखता है रे, कलरफुल पेन चाहिए। और this pencil एक भी अच्छी लगी। अभी तो पूरे बाजार लेना है, 10 लेना है। आ जाती है हमको। उसपे भी करके दे, न्यू ग्राफ पैसे बढ़ा के दे। शादी से ज्यादा
अरे वाह फरीन, बस जल्दी रुकना नहीं चाहिए, फरीन ये रुकना नहीं चाहिए,
मोबाइल लेकिन रुक जाएगा ना।
फरीन ये रुकना नहीं चाहिए।
आगे आती फिर बैठती